I'm Amber, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my May TBR. I am reading two books that I considered to be part of my May TBR, but I am going to discount one of them because I will be done in the month of April with this one. So the one that I'm talking about is A Study of Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is his first Sherlock Holmes story, and I am already halfway through, and I will definitely be done with it by Wednesday. The first part of A Study in Scarlet is very interesting, and I really liked it, but then he goes back and kind of tells you the story of the murderer's life and everything, and it's kind of slow and tedious to get through, but I still really like it. And as I said, I will be done with it, so I'm not really counting it as my May TBR, but I just wanted to mention this because it was meant to be. As you all know, what I normally do with my TBRs each month is I choose 5 books off my own shelves that I haven't read, and that's what I have done here. But I had meant to be reading one book, which I have switched out with another one, because when I picked it up, I realized that I lost complete interest in this series and with this book. So that one was The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the second book in the King Killer Chronicles. It's only meant to be 3 books, and I had truly meant to finish this book in the month of May. But what happened is, as I was picking it up and looking through the book and everything, I realized that one, Denna just keeps getting worse and worse as the story goes on. I also started to realize that I really couldn't take both anymore, and I almost felt like we were supposed to like him, we were supposed to care for him in one way or the other, and I really couldn't, especially with this book. And so, as I was starting to realize that no matter how much I love Patrick Rothfuss' writing, I really don't love this book. So I decided that it wasn't really worth trying, especially when I have no interest anymore, and I put it down. Before I actually share with you the 5 books off my TBR, I'm going to share with you the book that I am rereading. I've been thinking about rereading for quite some time. I love to read books. I feel like if I buy a book, I plan to read it, and if I love it and it stays on my shelves, I plan to reread it. I don't like the idea of my books just sitting there after I've read them. And so I am a rereader, and I love the fact that I'm a rereader, and I love the fact that my books will always be constantly going through and being reread. So each month I have decided that I will read one book off of my rereads. Now, I had actually planned to read a standalone novel, but there is a series that has been haunting me for the past month. I have been wanting to read this series for such a long time over again because I really enjoyed them, and it was very tempting to go and watch the films just to kind of take away the edge off of my desire to read them. But then I was like, if I want to read them, I might as well let them jump the line. So that series and the first book is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Normally that desire is solely with the Anna Green Gables series, but I have been longing to reread these books for quite some time, as I said. I want to really kind of delve into the world more and actually dig deeper into some aspects that I didn't, especially with Dumbledore, because there's some things that have been said. It's really funny that J.K. Rowling says that Dumbledore is gay, when I never really got that from the books when I read them first, and I don't think anybody has. And then she comes out and says that, and I'm just like, did she really expect us to believe that? Because other than the fact that those two were like really close friends, I didn't really ever get the feeling that there was any more than that between them. So I really don't know. Just because someone is single for a very long time does not mean that they're one or the other. You know, it just might mean that they haven't been able to find someone that they can have that kind of relationship with. Like I said, I don't really see it, but I'm hoping that when I go back and reread it, I may be able to find the clues that may possibly have been there, but I just didn't catch. Also, I'm just looking for a really fun adventures reread through Harry Potter's experiences, and yeah, so this is my reread for the month. Now we can jump into the books off of my own TBR. The first is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I know this is about a mystical city, and the ups and downs of the city is told through a family. So that's basically all I know. It seems very big, but this is a book I've been wanting to read ever since I first started hearing about it, and it just really sounds interesting. I think it's also set in Colombia, so that just kind of caught my eye, and I'm really looking forward to finally getting my chance to read this, and I absolutely love this cover. It's just really beautiful to me.
I will be picking up next Alone Wolf by Joan.
Next, I will be picking up Lone Wolf by Jodi Picoult. This is about Luke and Edward. Edward is the son of Luke, who is a researcher of wolves. And so Luke has come to the point of feeling like the wolves understand him more than his own family, or rather that he understands wolves more than his own family. And it definitely affects his relationship with his wife. And in the end, she gets a divorce from him. At the age of 18, Edward leaves home on bad terms with his father. 7 years later, after leaving his home, he gets a call telling him that his father has been in a serious accident, and he goes back home to help his sister make a decision on what's going to happen with their father. I tried to read this when I didn't own it. I borrowed it from the library, and at the time I just really wasn't into it. It did feel very much like a repetitive structure to her stories, and it was kind of frustrating, but I definitely want to read this. I got it for very cheap, so that was the only reason why I felt okay with getting this. And like I said, I love Jodi Picoult. I love her books, so I have to give this a really good try before I decide to put it down. And I'm really hoping that I will enjoy it better this time. Forever Street by Frederick Morton. This is about Beric, who at the age of 18 years old tries to make a home in Turk Place, a place that people believe isn't the greatest place to settle, that it really isn't possible to be able to settle there, and he's very determined and stubborn about it, and he ends up marrying a young woman whose diary is a legendary relic. It is believed to be a part of the Wailing Wall from Jerusalem. This piece of stone transforms their lives and makes them believe, and they are very much convinced that because of this stone, that Turk Place will be their home forever. Their story spans 3 generations of their family through World War I all the way to World War II, and I am very much looking forward to getting my chance to read this month. Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. I probably will only end up reading the Iliad, and if I finish all of my TBR before the month ends, then I will go back and finish the Odyssey, but if not, it will just move on to June. But I am looking forward to finally reading both of them, and I'm hoping that I will get something out of it, because I remember her when I was a teenager, and I had to read a little bit of one or the other. I can't remember which one. I didn't really find it all that interesting, but that's typical teenager attitude there for you. So I'm hoping that it'll be a different experience this time. The next book that I am picking up is Horns by Joe Hill. This book I am very excited to finally get a chance to read. This is a horror fiction novel, and I am kind of cautious and worried about how scary it's going to be, but I'm also looking forward to reading a Joe Hill book. You may notice from my Goodreads page, if you follow that, I do read 2 books at a time, and how I normally do that is I choose a book from my TBR and a book from my library pile. Now, with my reread, I switch out a library book with that and just move that down the line. But other than that, it's between a TBR book and a library book. So each month I have normally chosen 5 books, but now I am going to be choosing 7 books, because 2 of the books that I will be choosing each month will be for a challenge that I have challenged myself with, and that is to read 2 books each month, each being set in a different country. This is not about diversity, it's more about expanding my reading experience and learning more about different cultures and just experiencing other countries' books and literature and stuff like that. I have been having a hard time. I don't really mind if the book is set in a different country but is written by somebody who doesn't really live there, as long as they do a good job in, researching the country and stuff like that. But I do want to pick out books that are actually from authors who live there, because their experiences will be more, I think, in depth with the book that they're writing. That's just the way I feel. But either way, I have started this challenge out this month. The first two books from my library TBR are not here with me yet because I have requested them, they just haven't gone to the library yet. So the first one is The 12 Tribes of Hattie by Ayanna Mathis. This is about a woman who ends up marrying a man, and it definitely doesn't make her happy, and she has 9 kids, and it's about her determination to make sure that they are prepared for the world, which she feels is not going to be very welcoming to them. And so it's about her and her children and just the struggles of parenthood, I guess. I'm not exactly sure, but this is a book I've been wanting to read for several years. The next one that I'm waiting for is The Good Earth by Pearl S. Book. Now, this is the first book that I have chosen for my challenge. It's set in China. It's about a farmer and his family who are farmers. He works the land, and they live next to a noble family who looks down on people who work on the land and the land itself. The farmer and his family end up being forced to move into the city because the drought and just nothing's been working out for them, and there's a lot of riots going on in the city and people stealing into these noble homes and chasing off the rich. But this farmer does a good deed and he gets rewarded, which ends with him rising up while the noble family that he was living next to is starting to fall. Sounds very interesting. It's said China, so it's definitely something that drew my eye. I'm also going to be reading A Fine Balance by Rohitan Mystery. This is set in India, so this is the second book that I have chosen for this month's challenge. And this takes place in 1975 in a place that is unnamed, that is by the sea. The government has just declared a state of emergency, and in whose upheaval 4 strangers end up living in a cramped apartment together. Of a spirited widow, you have a young student uprooted from his idyllic hill station, and 2 tailors who have fled from the caste violence of their native village. They learn to love one another, and it's about how they handle living in such close quarters and in the times that they are living in. I'm really excited to read this because I definitely been wanting to read more books set in India, and so this is always something that I've really been wanting to get myself into with literature. I just haven't really gone out and been proactive about it. So this caught my eye when I was reading The Owls of the Library, and now I'll be reading this month. South Riding by Winifred Holtby, about Sarah Burton, who returns to her hometown to become the headmistress of a all-girls school. She is very ambitious about teaching her girls to take all they can from life, to not let men trod them down, kind of thing. And she, from the film, seemed like she was very feminist in that sense. And it's also about how one of her students, a scholarship girl, ends up being forced to leave because of her mother falling ill, and she has to take care of the family. And then you have Robert Karn, who stands for everything Sarah despises, yet she finds herself intrigued by him and very much interested in him. I watched the BBC miniseries, I think that's what it is, and I didn't particularly care for it. I enjoyed it, but I had some issues, especially with Sarah's and Robert's relationship, which didn't really make sense to me. So I'm hoping that it will make sense to me in this. But I'm also hoping I'll get more of her teaching the girls and her relationship with her students, because in the film I didn't really feel like I got that, which I thought was a major aspect to the whole story. I know there's a lot of politics and economics going on also, but I felt like her teaching the students was a big part, yet we never really got it. So I'm hoping that I will understand the story more when reading this, and I'm definitely looking forward to it because I've heard a lot of good things about this. This was supposed to be her best work, and it was also her last one. So it's definitely something that I do want to read. And I'll be picking up The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I believe this is sci-fi dystopian, and I am not really going to try to describe the synopsis, but I do know it is sci-fi / dystopian. And I've been wanting to read another Margaret Atwood for quite some time, and so I'm very pleased that I was able to pick this one up. Also, be picking up Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I'm only really expecting a predictable, cheesy, cliche, almost maybe a bit steamy because I think this is new adult romance, and so, like I said, I'm not really expecting a lot from this, but I am looking for entertainment, and that's basically all I'm looking for. So long as it entertains me, and the romance is good, and the writing is good, I will enjoy this. The seventh and last book from my library TBR is Night Film by Marisha Puzzle, and this is a mystery thriller, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I've heard a lot of things about this from the booktube community, a lot really good and a few negatives, but I really wanted to read it and see if it's as entertaining as a lot of people have said it is. I'm just really looking forward to a very intriguing mystery thriller roller coaster type ride. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep smiling.